Hello, Theo traders. Gianni DePoce here with you. Today is the 13th of August, 2024, and markets are squeezing back higher. Let's start off by looking at the S&P 500. It's pretty much been straight up since Wednesday of last week. We had a dramatic start on Monday last week following the carry trade blowing up, but I've been posing the question, if that was the trigger for the sell-off that we saw in markets, and 50 to 75% by various estimates of that carry trade has been unwound. Does that mean the worst is behind us? So it's looking more and more that way as stocks continue to bid. You're seeing all the right sectors outperform to the upside. Tech is leading, semiconductors are leading. I'll show you that in just a moment. But today we started to rally after a soft PPI report. Producer price index came in below estimates. This is setting us up for a dramatic CPI report tomorrow that is surely to move markets. And honestly, the way it looks now, bears have to play defense. And the more that this market rallies, the longer that it goes on, the more likely it is that the bottom is in. There's some really good signs that we had with the low. The big thing is that the RSI indicator never hit oversold. But you take a look at the intraday chart as we have about an hour left going into the close here. We're at the highs of the day so far. So unless we have a big miss in CPI tomorrow, it looks like bulls could carry this market into the weekend. You take a look at the NASDAQ 100 futures here. You're testing that downward sloping trend line. I am more concerned with this horizontal resistance zone that was formerly support in the $19,800 area, basically between there and 20,000. I think is going to tell us whether this rally is legit. So this could continue, into the next week or so, this squeeze higher. But you'll see here the NASDAQ's up about 2.3%. It's doing what it should do. The market is doing what it should do coming out of a low of significance, and that is the NASDAQ tends to lead to the upside along with tech. You'll see that XLK is up 2.9%, almost 3% higher in the day. And you take a look at the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index, up 3.75% so far, almost 4% higher on the day. And, obviously NVIDIA being up 6% is a major tailwind for the semiconductor sector. And that's definitely helping stock prices rebound. But we're seeing some decent price action in some of the Magnificent Seven names as well. I've remained bullish on Apple despite this sell-off. We basically just retested former resistance turned support and completed a higher low, which reinforces the bull trend. I actually like Meta a little bit here. You have this ascending triangle formation. Prices are consolidating near resistance. This could lead to a short squeeze higher, especially if this market starts to rally beyond the CPI report tomorrow. But you take a look at Microsoft, that's having a decent day. I'm not really the biggest fan of that chart, to be honest with you. Tesla's looking a little bit better. I do like Netflix coming out of the higher low. But when you take a look at Amazon, for example, I think that this one has some issues, and that does raise some concerns with respect to the consumer. Remember that consumption represents about 70% of the U.S. economy. So seeing a slowdown in a name like Amazon is concerning, no doubt. But let's go ahead and talk about good things and happy things. Gold, by far, is the strongest bull trend in the market right now. Okay, we keep seeing higher highs and higher lows. And I don't know about you, but the gold bugs don't really seem that loud. It's really a weird thing. I've been doing this now for, going on 13 years. And when I got into this, many of you that were around can attest to the fact that, the gold bugs were really loud at that time. So that would be what, 2011, right? So the gold bugs used to be really loud. They were, a very emotional, adamant crowd. And I just don't see them celebrating this rally to new all-time high just yet. And you take a look at silver. I think there's a good risk reward trade on the long side for silver. We've been discussing that. But I do want to update you on some of the stocks that we've been talking about for about 6 months. Started buying Anglo Gold Ashanti back in February. By early March, we backed up the truck, made this a big part of the position. We did hit another upside target today at 31. But, as I look at this longer term chart here, it looks like it wants to rally as high as 40. So I think this one has legs. And if you start to see, silver participate in this rally, it could easily lead to an acceleration to the upside. You take a look at Agnico Eagle Mines, similar story. We've been in this one for quite some time. El Dorado Gold, Alamos Gold. These are all names that we've been in and continue to do very well on the long side in precious metals. And it's just about, taking those trades that are presenting themselves and managing risk on the way up. When you hit a new price target, you can trim, tighten up your stop loss. It's all part of trade management. Want to take a look at cryptocurrencies. You're seeing a nice rebound in Bitcoin and Ethereum today. Ethereum really did well yesterday, but some of the names in the space still got some work. Marathon issued some more shares yesterday and basically threw away what was a really nice rally last week. So we'll see if it can recover into Friday. MicroStrategy trying to complete a higher low after its share split. That could be a nice opportunity on the long side there. Still watching Coinbase, but want to see a better base develop before we get too excited on the long side for this stock. But take a look at crude oil. Crude oil retreating a little bit. I do think that there could be some opportunities in the energy space, given that the Fed is poised to start cutting interest rates in about a month's time. But you take a look at bonds, you are seeing duration still lead to the upside, and this does present some concerns in terms of the economic slowdown story. I'd like to actually see bonds go sideways here, perhaps for another couple of weeks. But for now, they continue to bid higher, and this is helping bond market liquidity. If you take a look at credit spreads, they actually finished narrower last week than they were the previous week. So that's why this, the crash scenario hasn't really panned out in stocks. And it's because liquidity conditions have remained solid. They haven't really deteriorated that much. And so you don't really get crashes unless liquidity spreads blow out. You take a look at the VIX, it's being exterminated here. That can change tomorrow easily with CPI. But, like I said, guys, the more that this thing rallies, the longer it goes on, the higher the probability becomes that a low of significance is complete. I do want to check back in on biotech since we've been talking about that for such a long time. It's looking better. IBV trying to come out of a higher low. A few of the names that we've been covering in the space. Mirum giving back some of yesterday's impressive gains, but I think it's just some choppy price action. You got Myriad Genetics hanging out near the highs. Neurocrine Biosciences coming out of another nice higher low as well. So I think that this is a theme that is going to continue to play out in the coming weeks and months. So definitely something to keep an eye on if you're looking for some, growth potential with a bit of innovation. I think the AI trade hasn't really even gotten that deep into the biotech space, but it could sooner rather than later. Let's take a look at currencies because, I mentioned the Japanese yen carry trade, and this is what we need to be careful about because if we are forming a lower high here and the yen is going to start appreciating, as I mentioned, if this was the catalyst for volatility in stocks, this is a major warning sign going into the CPI report tomorrow. Now, the correlation can change. That's fine. But as long as USD JPY is below 146, 148, it's going to have some issues on the long side. That is the Japanese yen is likely to stay strong against the dollar. But I will point out that the dollar is weak against the euro, and a lot of important market lows tend to form when the dollar tops out. And we've seen the euro rally against the dollar for the last few months. And as long as this continues, I have a hard time believing that we're going to see a continuation of the bear trend in stocks. So keep an eye on CPI tomorrow. That's all for now, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the TheoTRADE chat room.